Welcome to Body Cams Canada. On this channel, corruption is exposed and transparency is alive. Today, we are in the East End of Toronto, where an officer-involved shooting took the life of Michael Eligon. Prior to the shooting, Michael left a hospital in hopes of making it home to his mother. This young man was battling mental health issues at the time of the shooting. The officer who shot Michael continued to be a police officer, and as recent as 2022, he has been charged for, yet again, violence towards citizens. We will get into some of those details.
The officer in front of me raised his arm, and then I heard 3 shots, bang, 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 and Michael fell.
The 29-year-old, believed to be mentally ill, left Toronto East General Hospital wearing a gown, socks, and had 2 pairs of scissors. He was shot by police. The officer was exonerated by the Special Investigations Unit.
This is Constable Cerqua. The police officer who fired the shots that killed a Toronto man told a coroner's inquest Monday that the scissors being brandished by the 29-year-old left him scared for his life.
They said the officer was being threatened by Michael and had no alternative. That certainly was not my impression as a witness.
Let's have our own look at what happened to Michael, and we can decide if this was an officer who had no alternative choice other than deadly force, or was this murder?
Right now. 10-4. 11, just advise us sudden death. I'm watching the Springdale window. It's right on the intersection where I am, so I'll watch the back. The street 1, street 1. 10-4. Thank you, 411.
Drop it now! Drop it! Drop the knife now!
What's you?
At this point, the officers go off camera for a short period before returning into the camera view. You can still hear the audio to get an idea of what is happening. My question is, why was a taser or less lethal chemical agents not deployed before jumping straight to deadly force, which should be the very last resort in any and every situation? My question regarding the taser will be answered later in the video.
Go ahead, westbound end. Dispatch. Millerton, several units on scene here. Speaking to now, right now.
Keep your eyes on this officer who backs himself into a position where he becomes closer to Michael than he needed to be at that moment. He should have continued to back up and create as much distance as possible. He chose not to, causing this to happen. He looks behind him, confirming he can continue backwards. But his next steps are to the side, knowing Michael will be face to face with him when stepping in this direction.
10-4, Indians, head over to 546 Milverton.
The mandate of the SIU is to nurture confidence in Ontario's police services and select special constables and peace officers by assuring the public that the actions of these officials resulting in serious injury, death, the discharge of a firearm at a person, or an allegation of sexual assault are subjected to independent investigations. The objective of all SIU investigations are to determine whether there is evidence of criminal wrongdoing on the part of the official. It is not to determine whether the involved official may have committed some lesser offense, such as a breach of a provincial law or professional misconduct.
Shot by a French documentary crew on police oversight in France, followed SIU investigators the day of Eligon's shooting.
They were giving an interview to these reporters saying that, civilians don't quite get it. You have to have a police background to understand these circumstances, and they were already offering excuses for the shooting when the investigation hadn't even occurred yet.
The problem with this investigation is trust for this process is not possible when assumptions are made prior to an investigation and when the members of the SIU are wearing accessories that display favoritism towards the people they are investigating.
Then there was a pixelated ring worn by a forensics investigator, a police ring.
You can't go around as an SIU investigator looking like a police groupie.
2 investigators were disciplined for making inappropriate comments, while the forensics investigator was suspended for wearing a police ring.
The SIU has to always work hard to build credibility, and something like this can just poof, make it go away in one shot.
Let's get into some more facts regarding Louis Cerqua, but first let's hear the outcome of the investigation carried out by the Special Investigations Unit.
The province's police watchdog has cleared a Toronto police officer in the shooting death of 29-year-old Michael Eligon. However, Special Investigations Unit Director Ian Scott said there are a number of questions raised by the shooting that might be answered in the event of a coroner's inquest into Eligon's death.
These are the results of the coroner's inquest, and you will also hear Louis Cerqua attempt to make sense of his actions. Keep in mind, earlier in this very video, we watched him step sideways towards Michael's path of movement, and not continue backwards immediately after he checked and confirmed that his direction was an available option.
Toronto police officer testified today at a coroner's inquest, giving his side of the story about the day Michael Eligon was shot. Now, the inquest is looking into 3 deadly police shootings, and Stephen D'Souza now with what frontline officers say they saw that day.
With less than a year on the job, Constable Louis Cerqua arrived on the scene last February, not quite sure what to expect. Cerqua can be seen pulling his gun, dropping his notebook, confronting Michael Eligon, who is off camera. A few seconds pass as Eligon appears on screen. He's holding a pair of scissors in each hand. That's Cerqua to Eligon's right. Today he testified he was concerned for his safety, scared for his life. He says he repeatedly told Eligon to drop his weapon. Drop the weapon or you will be shot. He says he then heard Eligon say, "One of you is going to die." Eligon keeps moving. Officers say they were running out of space. Cerqua fired. Only one struck Eligon. I pulled the trigger until I saw him collapse. Eligon was suffering from depression and psychotic episodes. He had checked into Toronto East General Hospital, but walked out, robbing a convenience store, stabbing a clerk. Officers at this inquest have repeatedly said their training teaches them that when confronted with an emotionally disturbed person with an edged weapon, they deal with the threat, not the person's mental state. Cerqua called it a black and white training method applied to a gray area. One lawyer suggested officers needed to be better organized. In a testy exchange with Eligon's lawyer, Cerqua said he retreated as best he could, tried to disengage, but Eligon kept coming. Cerqua said there was no time to use pepper spray or a baton, or to talk him down. I can't speak in a soft tone when I feel my life is in danger. Now, Cerqua says police are trained to deal with people with edged weapons and people who are emotionally disturbed, but not somebody who is emotionally disturbed and carrying an edged weapon. So he says that's some training that police definitely should have in the future.
These are the results from the Special Investigations Unit.
Scott said the subject officer was justified in using lethal force. The officers gave Mr. Eligon many opportunities to drop his weapons, Scott said in a news release. However, Scott said there are legitimate questions arising from the incident, such as, how did Eligon leave the hospital? Should frontline police officers receive different training to deal with these situations? Should frontline police constables be issued tasers?
When people are losing their life, there has to be other options. Those questions need to be solutions. However, that is not the extent of the problem here. There seems to be a trend of officer misconduct with little to no discipline. Most officers continue to be officers after concerning actions are displayed. In some cases, these officers continue to be violent and a danger to the public. The real question here should be, did you know Louis Cerqua was charged again for more violence? The Special Investigations Unit says that a Toronto police officer has been charged with assault as the result of an investigation. Constable Louis Cerqua was charged in connection with an incident that occurred in February. According to the SIU, the police watchdog, the investigation determined that on February 11th, 2 Toronto police officers were patrolling the area of Lakeshore Boulevard and Lower Sherbourne Street when they came across a man who was wanted on outstanding warrants. The release stated an interaction ensued between the officers and the man, leading to the man's arrest. The SIU said there are reasonable grounds to believe Cerqua committed a criminal offense. The SIU investigation resulted in charging Cerqua with 1 count of assault. Let's stay reminded that this person he assaulted is not the first, and if he remains a police officer, I highly doubt it will be the last.
I saw a vulnerable man killed in the street, and that could be any of us.